Shalom to the elect. Bakwar Tawab, which is morning good. Call Elohim La Yahal Bashem Yal Shai Bashem Chokodash. All praise, honor, and glory to our power Yahal Bashem Yal Shai Bashem Chokodash. And of course, giving double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who well, peace and salutation to the elect. Shemal Mafis is a Mappa from the Great Millstone, Plaintables, Camp of Philadelphia. You know what we lesson? Hey, we see the end of things at hand right here. And as you can see, and one of the major prophecies, hey, wake up. The beast system is already here. All right. And, the control, is being established. And, hey, they talking about, of course, about digital currency, digital IDs, and making, them mandatory. UK, of course, which UK, has that that's goes to really representing the financial head or the side of this this system. Okay, this beast system and such, which is one of the three unclean frogs and such, as Revelation 16 does tell you. And such with London, city state, right? And for the UK or United Kingdom, which Britain is a part of, it's not a coincidence that they would even start it there. Okay, to bring a run, a test run for bringing it to abroad. Because it's gonna come abroad, but so that's just one of the biggest things that's going on. You got it here, and if y'all don't know the scriptures, like I say, you just go to Revelation, the 16th chapter, just in the spirit or something. Okay, and it says, I think that's Revelation 16:3. It says, "And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the beast. All right, and out of the mouth of the false prophet." Okay, this Roman system. All right, NATO and the EU. All right, and of course, we know the false prophet being the RC, or Roman Catholic Church. All right, but the 3 unclean frogs is dealing with, of course, was it with DC, Washington, dealing with the Pentagon, representing military might. All right, force. Okay, and you have, of course, the London and city state. We're dealing with the financial side, and then you have 3 with the Vatican. All right, with the representing the priesthood of the system. Because everything has, of course, a priesthood. All of these kingdoms have priesthoods and such like that. All right, that push out. That spiritual influence, which they push, of course, witchcraft. All right, out of it. You have everybody under the stupor of everything that belief from the Christianity. Which we know that with the Catholicism comes, of course, which as the mother, coming the various little underlings, all right, or offsprings, all right, of the various little denominations, the Lutheran, the Presbyterian, the Baptist, the Adventist Church, all of that, the Jehovah Wickedness, all of that, come out of the mother, which is the Roman Catholic Church. All of that plantation Christianity come out of that. All right, so So it says, for this is verse 14. It says, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of the Most High Almighty, how Almighty. So, hey, ultimately what we have is the destruction, the ultimate destruction. All right, the World War III. Armageddon going into the Valley of Troops and such. All right, over in the you call it, and people say the Middle East, Levant area. Going into that, particular region and such, in which we're gonna have all of the troops go and gather. All right, but anyway. Speaking on so much, you have it with the digital ID, so just to show digital ID. Work, just to be able to work. And I gotta see where this dude actually is from again, because I know he I would not be mistaken, he could be a Scot, but Stromer, digital ID work requirement sparks uproar from UK's left and right. You have the people are like, they know, especially over there in UK, them people, with what's that, David Icke and such, been on to these different, as they call it, breathings together, the spirings, okay, the the perspirations are individuals coming together in a gym, in these meetings, okay? Digital ID cards will put UK on dangerous path. Just ask India. All right? Yeah, ask these other nations, Why do the heathen rage? It says, I spent years reporting on digital IDs like the Brit card. This is what I found. All right, to those who hope that the Brit card digital ID scheme will, as Keir Starmer has promised, serve as a check on immigration. And they blaming the immigrants for all of this. They blaming different Israelites, that come up, and other heathen nations that come into the United Kingdom, claiming asylum, and get into receiving benefits. You had it where a very big major rise in nationalism, in which, over there in the UK, you have a lot of individuals are living, worse than these different, as they call them, immigrants, migrants, and such, and, before, like, you have it where there's this big thing, as you see right now over here in America. They've been dealing with it big over there in the UK, to the point where they had that was one of the another big reasons of the Brexit, the British leaving the basically the European Union and such. All right, because them not wanting to pay, all of that money into the European Union, being mixed with, as the scriptures say in Daniel's the second chapter, being mixed with the iron mixed with the miry clay, being partly weak and partly strong and such. All right, and that's you have it with this system, this new Roman system, okay, as this is Rome reincarnated, okay. And you have it with the different European vassals coming back near the Treaty of Rome. These ancient ones are back, and we have as have it problems as in the ancient world, but at its peak. All right, where we know the Roman Empire fell, okay, and had to come back. All right, Jake took over and etc. But it says, this is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40, just to go into it. It says, in the fourth kingdom, dealing with, of course, the Roman Empire, right, shall be strong as iron, for as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Whereon thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of an iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay, and as the toes of the feet pour part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay? And it says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right? And you had, like I said, you had the Brexit, you had, the British leaving the EU due to, seeing major members, okay, like Britain, paying major money to the Union of the European Union, originally, going back to the was it a European Economic Committee, and before that the 10 Common Markets of the ancient Roman Empire and such. All right, in which would hold this whole system together. But this system, as you see, is weak. It's partly strong and weak. Germany, downfall. France, downfall, all seeking just a way to try to prosper, okay? And all the blame is the heathen, okay? But like I say, these are just them coming with the different agendas that they always wanted from the beginning, and just putting the blame, of course, on, as you have it, the undocumented, right? It says, I bring bad news. We immigrants, documented and undocumented, will figure it out. All right? Because, you have it that, hey, some of these people have what? They immigrated into, these different parts of Europe, okay? Documented or not undocumented, too. You have, different individuals that's not supposed to be in the country and are in the country. All right. I say this as a journalist who spent close to a decade investigating the many drawbacks in data leaks. Right. Misapplication of Aadhaar, India's vast controversial biometric database, which Starmer government approvingly and misleadingly endorsed in its press conference in announcing the BRIC card. So that's what it is, the BRIC card. Okay, the UK government claims that rolling out Aadhaar has saved India's government over 10 billion each year, and that's it. There you go, right there. This could bring a healing, as they would want to bring, to the government. The spending and stuff. We need these 10 billion to each year to bring back our economies and such. People are suffering. Okay, all of this stolen, or lost taxpayer dollars. On the fact of undocumented workers, an oft repeated but never proven claim that has been endlessly criticized as incorrect. Its press release echoes the well-trodden fantasies of those who support our unified identity schemes, right? Stating that BRIC card will save time, reduce reliance on a messy paper document, simplify access to government services, and digital wallets. So as you see, they tired of the analog paper, somebody just show a piece of paper, and that being able to authenticate and allow you to then be accepted, as a form of receiving certain benefits and stuff. Well, we don't want that. No, we want digital. That's too messy. Okay, having a bunch of papers and stuff, which is records. They want to control all the records. All right, but digitally you could delete records. But if somebody have a piece of paper, they had to get a piece hold of that paper and burn it. You know. This is Micah chapter 2 and 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it's in the power of their hand. The earth been given a hand of wicked." All right, the rogue man. All right, out of Wam, which we know who that is, who hold the power of the earth. All right, that body entity of people. All right, going back to the bankers. All right. You know, they the one that's the illuminated ones control and do these different things. All right, they have a big major, gym, just say a gym class. All right, where they perspiring together. All right, they got of course a play to play. All right. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. All right, and they want you, okay, with this digital system, okay. So you have it simplified to government services and digital wallets. All right, RIT card will save time. State-of-the-art security and encryption, strengthen borders, and help crack down on illegal migration. All right, and you don't think they're gonna need that here in Babylon? Of course, especially. Okay, Donald Trump, the cruel Lord, has declared, pretty much different cartels, individuals as T's. Okay. Bringing dreadful events, okay? So they would need, of course, as they have this system to help, take and manage all that's coming in, okay? When Tony Blair's new Labor administration, which I believe Tony Blair was a former prime minister back in UK and such. Right, Prime Minister UK from 97 to 2007. All right, he's a part of the Labour Party and such. All right, remember these parties are just like the Democrats and the Republicans, and you have it the Labour and the Conservative. The rich and the poor, which is not but the plebeians and the patricians. All right, and they, like I said, they speak as a lamb, or as a dragon. They come in with these different major, severe, harsh laws where you have to have these different digital credentials to be able to operate within the system. Okay, so no more just having someone be able to doctor up some type of thing for you to be able to enter. No, you have to be in our digital system, which is going to reduce, the counterfeiting, of documents too. Okay. And remember, I was quoting Revelation 13. Okay, with the system with the doom. There's another beast with America and such. All right. Part of this system, with its image, it has democracy, all right, and the whole democratic, program, is pushed out throughout all of the earth, through, you have it, the woman that is ride upon the scarlet colored beast, beast being NATO and the EU. All right, and we seeing what they're trying to do. Revelation 13 and 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. All right, this Roman system, which this place is in the form of. All right, via towards his philosophies, democracy being one of them. Right, and filled with lies and covetousness, adultery, idolatry, okay, etc. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right. And ultimately coming with is a C hip. All right. It goes in. 2 decades later, India's Ahar scheme, which holding the names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, retinal, biometric, and fingerprint scans over 1 billion people, offers a worrying case study of what awaits those in UK. Mass surveillance, a denial of services to the elderly. There's a lot of people that are elderly don't want to, or are not, used to all of this, digital stuff. Okay? Because they have requirements and it has fees too. It has you participating using mobile apps, etc. Okay? Nothing analog. You used to just write something on a piece of paper and have a certain credential, present that, and that be accepted, or show a copy of that Social Security card, birth certificate, and you got the green light. I have an identification card, which those documents allow you to get those things. Yeah, but now you got to have emails and stuff. You got to have, they got different verification methods. All right, encryption, state of the art. Digital wallets, they mixing your money with your identity. Okay, in a digital form, and so that when everything is, of course, established, okay, and you don't comply, there will be punishments. Okay, and just look at China. Okay, it says Adhar began as an ostensibly innocuous scheme to ensure India's most vulnerable citizens receive their due share of welfare benefits and entitlements by introducing a biometric body measure. Verification of the beneficiary of government schemes. All right, and yeah, as I said, it was based on, again, unproven assumption that welfare benefits are being siphoned off by mysterious middlemen. It's true that India's public food distribution system was inefficient and wasteful, but the roots of this inefficiency of how grain was stored and transported, the middlemen of India public discourse, as much like scrimmers, criminal gangs, right? Shadowy boogeymen. Yeah, and that's what they, with this, they're talking about, these different gangs and stuff. We see in America, war on them. They come in at these different gangs that are in the cities. They, are getting there in these, like in America, in these different sanctuary cities. Same with the, over in the UK and stuff, Hey, they're in these places, and hey, they may have got citizenship, but are different things, are not even got citizenship, but they're operating outside of the way we want things to be done. Okay, because we know a lot of people do operate a bit autonomously outside of what's traditionally done. They want people to be operating to their compliance. They don't want you to have the freedom to act independently. All right, at all. All right. So try the utterance of senior ministers to justify the latest draconian crackdown on personal liberty. All right. So this is a good thing. They're talking about the digital IDs and what they're coming with, and it's heavy. Ultimately, we know, hey, you should check out this, implant it. These things lead towards ultimately the mark, all right, which they want, that into the body, all right, the flesh, okay, to control, everything, and know in real time everything that you're doing. So as the scriptures say in 2:11, it says, least Satan, 2 Corinthians 2:11, least Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. All right, these different plans and such and schemes. All right, about evil plot and origin. So we got to stay up, man. Stay up and stay informed. All right. And as the scripture tell you in John, for 3rd John 1 and 11, beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of the Most High, but he that doeth evil hath not seen the Most High. All right. You would do the things that are pleasing unto the Lord. All right. And we know what is good. All right. Not to be sitting there taking the C-hip, which ultimately, like I said, the digital ID is not the C-hip. That's part of the process and integrating that C-hip. All right. Which that has to go and be basically put in your body. Okay. If you get it cyborg you. All right. Foreign entity enter into your body. All right. Which, as we have the parameters of the buy and selling and all of that, and everything else. All right. And if you accept that, you will get a gruesome sore. All right. In Revelation, it tells you. All right. And 2. All right. But yeah, man, we just see what it is. I wanted to speak in the system about this, this whole thing, that the digital ID card. Right. And, hey, they're only following the wishes of the banking elite. All right. So, shalom to the elect. All praise and honor, glory to Yahweh, Shem HaShai, B'Shem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone well.